Good morning. I had no plan of making this video today. As you can probably tell, I'm not awake. But I had woken up to an email that I thought the answer to which might give some value to you, to anybody. So I wanted to make this and put it out there, especially with the world being the way it is right now. A fair warning, I haven't really planned out anything that I'm going to say. This isn't going to be one of those succinct videos. It's going to be me kind of talking it through as I go for it. So I'm going to share the email first. I'm going to share pieces of it just to kind of maintain privacy. It starts with, I don't know how many of these you actually get a chance to read. I watch your YouTube videos from my country. I wanted to let you know, if you ever get down, that to me, you're living the dream. I'll be getting a degree next year, and I had a question, and this is kind of where the email really starts for me. It says that I have depression, but how do you wake up at a decent time, push through, and make such amazing content on YouTube, and find the beauty in it all, and keep going out? You've been an inspiration. I hope this finds you. So I'm going to start by saying that I'm going to be sending this video directly to this individual as well, but I want to start with the part right at the beginning there, where it says you are living the dream. We're going to loop back to that later on, because I think it's a really obvious statement at this point to say that you see what gets put out, but you don't always see what's behind it. So one of the big ones here is the depression and getting up and the pushing through and everything. So before I started YouTube a couple years back, I had been through a very, very rough patch myself, and it's not like that rough patch has gone away solely because I'm now creating content, but the creation of the content and the choice to do so is one of the things that's really been helping. So I want to start with probably the most important part inside of this, which is waking up at a decent time and choosing to create every single day. You see, between YouTube, the podcast, the videos that I make for Yahoo, stuff that I do for you guys, and small client projects, I on average put out between 25 and 35 pieces of content a month. That's almost something every single day, and that is a very conscious choice. I feel if one of those were to disappear, I would fill that void with something else and continue putting out that much content a month. But I want to step back. I want to step back to the days before YouTube. I had just mentioned that I'd been through a pretty rough patch. And that was everything from just mentally, physically, everything. I just wasn't in a good space. And I've never traditionally been the person who can wake up super early in the morning and get things done. But I decided to make a conscious choice that if I kept going, if I just kept letting life happen to me, that things weren't gonna get any better. It's like that analogy of life being like walking the opposite way on a moving walkway. If you stand still, you move backwards. If you walk, you're in the same place. In order to get ahead, you need to run. And I feel that the getting ahead and running doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hustle or you have to work extra hard, but it means you need to be making a conscious choice, a conscious decision to be doing something that makes your life a little bit better every single day. And so before starting YouTube, I'm sure many of you have heard me say this 1,000 times. For about a year before I even started YouTube, I decided I was gonna make a video every single week. And the goal of this was to make the content without the payoff, without people watching it, without the views, without any monetization, without any of the positive feedback loop that happens when you put a video out there. I wanted to learn to just love the process, and more than anything, I wanted to learn the discipline, because the discipline is a very large part of it. You see, discipline breeds freedom. This is something I didn't believe for the longest time, but after doing, I've strongly developed a belief in. And so before starting YouTube, there were 2 or 3 major things that I really wanted to box off. The biggest ones was learn to love the process of making something for myself, which is why I made videos every single week. I would use days off, time after work and whatnot to just record stuff on my phone and put out something like 55 to 60 videos in the year before I started YouTube. And then the second part of that is I wanted to get in shape. I wasn't in shape in the way that I felt would be presentable. I didn't feel good about myself. I was very lazy at the time, and I was like, if I want to be able to, you know, put myself out there, I need to be able to stand as an example for myself. I wanted to be able to look back at these videos, you know, 5, 10, 20 years from now and be like, look at that thing that I did that I could be slightly proud of. So I also spent that year getting in shape. I lost somewhere around 20 kilograms. That's a lot of pounds, and it took a lot of work. And the biggest thing was the discipline, choosing to wake up and have a bit of a schedule. And so one of the things that I've covered about 1 billion times, but I want to share that really helps, is I try to force myself whenever possible to get to bed a little bit early. I set a wake up time, and then when I wake up, I give myself a set of easy tasks that I need to do. I need to pack up my bedding, you know, whether I'm folding up a sheet, whether I'm hanging it up, whatever it is. I need to drink water, and I need to start the day with a bare minimum of 30 push-ups if I'm very tired, preferably 50. This kind of, the water refresh, the exercise kind of gets me started, and then I give all of this is done also within small time segments. This, when it comes down to it, is just the details, but I give myself, everything needs to happen within the first 15 minutes of the day. The first 5 minutes, I need to be out of bed, and that needs to be packed up or tucked away. You've definitely seen it. If you've seen me at a hotel, I actually make the hotel bed in the morning. It's just that little bit of action. I don't make it perfectly. I just make sure it's nice and covered up again. And then within the next 5 minutes, I need to get water, probably stretch out, and then within the next 5 minutes, I need to be doing the exercise. Then I give myself from there 15 minutes to make sure that coffee's made and my computer's booted up and the project that I'm going to work on for that day is set up. Within the first half hour of my day, I've made the choice to do all of these things, and no matter how difficult it is, my goal is very simple. One thing: don't break the chain. This is going to be a lot more difficult at the beginning than it's going to be at the end. The first 2 or 3 days, you're going to struggle to get through 2 or 3 days of a new routine. But after you've done it for 3 days, you don't want to break that chain. You might, and then you got to start over. You got to try and get to 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. But the goal is very simple. Make a conscious effort to do something that's not natural to you. Now, after a year of creating videos every single week and exercising and getting myself in shape, it wasn't actually much easier. It was still just as difficult as it was in the beginning, but the only big difference is after a year, I felt better about myself for what I had achieved, what I had accomplished. And that became the green light, the permission for me to make YouTube content. And going through YouTube, it hasn't been easy either. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's going to be great stuff that happens, and there's going to be terrible stuff that happens. And for those of you who have been listening to the Behind the Scenes podcast, you'll know that right now I'm going through a bit of a rough patch where I'm being inundated with projects and work. And all of this, I try to focus on the positive inside of it. I'm healthy. I have the opportunity to be inundated with these projects and this work. I try to focus on the gratitude of it, but it doesn't make the behind the scenes any easier. You'll notice on the social media front lately that I've been considerably quieter because all of my time has gone into this. Japan just went through a 4-day weekend, and in that 4-day weekend I successfully outputted something like 6 or 7 pieces of content. It was nose to the grind almost the entire time. And while you get to see the trips, the excitement, the adventure, what you don't see, for example, with the trip with Victor and I, is how hot it was sleeping inside of the car because we chose that in order to travel safely, we weren't going to stay in hotels. Or how difficult it was to set up and take down our little like camping space in the rain, or defog our gear. Cameras almost got ruined during that trip, and then coming back, sorting through all the footage was probably the better part of just half a day, and then moving stuff around, files get lost. There are entire clips that I've recorded that just didn't have audio. In fact, one of the most recent videos that I made here on Patreon was one where I lost audio for the vast majority of the video, and it was such like I couldn't record it. I couldn't re-record it. It was just, you know, it was in the moment. These things happen. But every single time that one of these things happen, every single time that one of these bad struggle-ish things happen, I need to make the conscious choice inside of my head to know that the bad is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. The struggle is always going to be there. The uphill run is always going to be there. I'm going to choose to push through that in the most positive ways, and I'm going to choose to do all the things that might make tomorrow maybe 0.25% better than today was. I'm going to choose to play that long game and understand that it's been, what, 3 years since I started YouTube, which means 4 years since I started making videos in total. And while life has improved, it's improved over that 4-year span. No 1 year was a huge leap that was bigger than the year before it. I didn't feel that change in 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. I felt that change in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. The struggle is still there. There are days. Today was a perfect example, and it's one of the reasons why when I woke up and I read this, I wanted to make this. Today, I did not want to get up. I was exercising a bit yesterday as a bit of a break from editing, and I kind of hurt myself because I didn't stretch out, and I should have stretched out. Always stretch out. And I did not sleep well last night at all, and woke up today going, you know what, I could use an extra half an hour, I could use an extra hour, I'll push some of that work back. But I didn't want to break the chain. I didn't want to break the chain of effort, and I knew it wasn't about today. It wasn't about this moment. It wasn't about that extra 30 minutes of sleep. It was about how I'm going to feel in a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year from now. And I'm only going to feel better about myself and have any pride in what I do if I stick to the efforts that I've consciously decided to make. And so I was like, no, I'm going to get up out of this bed within 5 minutes. And it was like 4 minutes, 50 seconds, and just quickly, I'm going to drink my water, which was the next thing that happened. And that also was just like me standing in the kitchen going like this. Ugh. I'm going to do, and I'll be honest, today I did only 20 push-ups when I woke up because I just wasn't feeling it, and the back kind of hurts, and I was like, but I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick to it. Then I found this message, and I was like, well, this is absolutely, absolutely perfect timing. And so it comes down to the core of, you know, how do you do it? And it's not easy every single day. In fact, I'd say 5 out of 7 days of the week, I wake up kind of like I did today, not wanting to get up, not wanting to do the effort. But I know that, you know, in a week, in 2 weeks, once I've produced that piece of content, once I've put that stuff out, that I'm going to feel good to have that out. And more than anything, it's about learning to love this process. I've learned to love the struggle of just doing something every single day that makes the future a little bit better. And again, it's that realistic timeline, not assuming that things are going to be better in a week, understanding that it could take 6 months, a year, it could take 2 years, it could take even longer, but it's that consistent action and the fact that you made the choice to make that consistent action. And honestly, I don't know if this is just me rambling to the camera or if this has given any help to you whatsoever, but it's the small actions consistently, and the fact that you chose to make them and chose to stick to them, that make all the difference. The struggle's always going to be there. All you can really do is hope that the actions that you're taking make the future a little bit better. For now, we learn to live inside of our struggles because it doesn't matter how good things get, even in the best of times, even at the absolute peak of everything that I was doing that I was having a great time with, there were still stresses and struggles inside of that. So if I learn to embrace that, if I learn to accept that there's always going to be a negative side and just work with that, make the best out of that, and still, despite the negative side, the struggles, take those small steps. I feel like I'm looping, I'm repeating. If there's a point in here, I think we get it by now, but I said we're gonna loop back to that part of living the dream, and I feel that we slightly covered it in the sense that on the outside, it looks like that. I'm currently producing a project right now that I went out and spent 4 days driving around recording, and unfortunately I've lost a great deal of the audio. A lot of the shots are way shakier than I wanted them to be, which means they're unusable. So I went out and I got 4 days of footage, and I'm right now currently able to use only about 1/3 of all of that, and that's kind of coming as a bit of a struggle to me. It's upsetting, it's depressing that there's so much that I cannot share that is right there, but it's just far too shaky, or the audio is just not usable. It's got me just talking to the camera and all you hear is shh, and it's a stress as it is. And there are entire sections of the road trip with Victor that I just had to flush, that are just gone. And had I done the simple thing, I look back and I'm like, had I done the simple thing of checking the audio after recording it, we would have been fine. But there are things like this. There's the time schedule. There's the fact that I can't work on this as much as I want to because I have a major client project that I've got to do. There's the fact that I've got 2 clients who are really, really upset right now because they wanted something that was done and I needed blue skies for it, and it's been nothing but gray skies over the past week. I feel like there are all these voices coming from, and then there's all this stuff that I want to do. I want to produce more stuff for you guys. I want to produce more stuff for you. I haven't really done the podcast lately at all, and that's becoming a stress of its own, and there are all these different angles, all these different things coming in, and it's really easy to feel panicked by all of that. It really, really is. But instead, I choose to wake up, lay out my day, do what I can within the day, give myself the permission to say, hey, I'm done for today at the end of the day, and then just start over again. It's those baby steps, and it's the conscious effort. I've said it 1,000 times. So when it comes down to it, there's no magic answer to how you wake up and do stuff every day. You make the choice to do it, and you just try and stick with it for more days in a row than you did last time. I will say this much as well, don't be afraid to give yourself a break every now and then, but in my experience, if I give myself 2 or 3 days break from that routine, then chances are I won't go back to it. And so I give myself a 1-day break rule. That is it. Whether it's from the routine as a whole or from one of the pieces of a routine. And then again, I try to break the chain that I did before that. If before I took that break, if I had 8 days, then I'll try to do 9, maybe 10, maybe 11. Stamina is something that we build over time. And especially when you're trying something new like this for the first time, maybe it's not the first time. Maybe you just haven't put in this time to build the stamina. Stamina doesn't happen instantly. Like if you were to go out today and try to teach yourself to start jogging, you wouldn't be jogging 5K today, 7K tomorrow, 10K the next day. You'd probably be jogging 5K for the first month, and then you'd get yourself up to 6K eventually, and then eventually over 10K. And something like this is very, very similar. You might not even start with 5K, to be honest. My initial jogs that I did were all around like 1.6K, and I eventually got up to 2K, and then I eventually got up to, so it's a work in progress, but it's something that you choose to do. I hope that this has come off as more helpful and not condescending or any of that. I am only speaking from my own experience and the things that have helped me, but they're such small and simple actions that I feel that making the choice to do them would be able to help pretty much anybody. Again, It's been rambly, I know. It's been quite a... I'm looking at the timer going, wow, I've spoken for a long time. If you've tuned in to this point of the video, thanks for watching. I hope it gives you any help, support, motivation, anything at all. We all struggle. Every single one of us. Every single one of us struggles. More often we struggle more often than we'd like to admit. And I think that the admission of that and sharing how we get through it is a great part of the human experience. So I wanted to share this with you today. It's also helped me. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm actually going to upload this right away, like right now. If you're watching this right at the beginning, you're watching it as soon as it's done recording. And then I'm going to get back to trying to put out complete at least one piece of content today. That's the goal. There's at least 3 I'd like to do, but I'm just going to focus on trying to get 1 done. That's all. Now I'm just enjoying talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I will talk to you later, I guess. Bye-bye. A little bit of an epilogue to this, something that I feel like I kind of glazed over that I should cover. Purpose helps, and purpose isn't always clear and abundantly apparent. For example, with myself, creating pieces of content that might motivate somebody, might move somebody, might make somebody's day a little bit better through vicarious living. That's a fantastic purpose, but that purpose isn't always there. And I think the beginning of all this Corona stuff was a perfect example of that. Everything I had, every job, every shamisen performance, everything that was lined up, gone. Disappeared. And it was things like that that gave birth to the at-home show, where I decided, you know what, this gives us the opportunity to travel vicariously across Japan, and we can shoot it all at home. Searching out that purpose alone can be a purpose. Trying a bunch of stuff until you find something that you like can be a purpose. And even the tiny little things, like for example, if you're planning on moving to Japan or you want to come to Japan, doing a little something every single day to increase your Japanese skill, studying just a little bit of Japanese every single day, making it one of those things, again, that you do not break the chain, that you do it every single day, can be a bit of a purpose. But the purpose isn't always instantly apparent. Sometimes you've got to search for it. And again, that search alone can be part of the purpose. Yeah, I hope that was a useful... Okay, so that's the epilogue. Don't feel bad if you don't necessarily see your purpose instantly, apparently right in front of you. It's just not always going to be easy, and it doesn't need to be something huge either. It can be something selfish for yourself. We're all just trying to grow and develop our own lives. So your purpose can be entirely... My purpose for the longest time was just learning Japanese or learning how to make videos. They were entirely selfish purposes. That is okay. And that is it. I know this video is... I'm looking at it in the timeline right now, and it's well over 20 minutes. So if you've stuck around to this point, thank you. I hope the rest of your day is beautiful. I hope this helped even a tiny bit. I love you, and I'll see you again real soon.